Morning, everyone. Welcome to another Monday Musing webinar. Sandra Madaffrey here, and I hope you're all having a great Monday morning. A little bit cold and chilly here in Melbourne today, but thanks for jumping on. Today I'm running a webinar where I'm going to talk a little bit about growth mindset. It's something that I've spoken about previously, but one of the very, very important things that a business owner must do in business and in life in general is have a growth mindset. So today I'm going to show you 5 steps. I call them the armed hiree. 5 steps to getting armed for a growth mindset. And it's so important because having a growth mindset means that you look at things outside the box of where you already exist and where you are and where you live at the moment, in your head, that is. So I'm going to welcome to everyone who's jumped on. I see there's a few people on here. Say hello. Going to share the screen, get my PowerPoint up, and let's start this. And I know I did something very similar to this in my groups, but I'm going to go into it a little bit more in depth today because it's really, really important. Because what I find is that a growth mindset very much goes hand in hand with emotional intelligence as well. So if you're wanting to be able to be able to move through business, through life with ease and grace, you need to have a growth mindset. And of course, the way we look at everything, our perception of what we see, our perception of the thoughts that we give any situation at any time that happens around us is very, very important to how you experience life. And that is something that I have learned very, very much on a personal basis over the last couple of years, that it is my way of thinking that creates my reality. No matter what happens out there, it is my thought processes that will create my reality. So I'm going to bring the chat box up. I don't know why it doesn't want to come up this morning. Just one second, guys. I'm going to stop sharing and start sharing again, because that's what happens sometimes when the chat box doesn't want to come up. And then hopefully, there we are, we've got it. Hi Jody, great to have you here as well. Okay, so let's have a look at having a growth mindset and why it's so important as well. Okay, so the first question I want to ask you is, what kind of mindset do you have? Okay. Most people, the way we're sort of programmed, the way we're being taught to be from when we're little children is very much a fixed mindset. Okay, so we have things like, if you have a look at the slides, I'm either good at it or I'm not. We give up when we're frustrated. We don't like to be challenged. In fact, our unconscious mind does not like to be challenged in any way. It loves comfort. It loves staying within that comfort zone. We look at failure as being we're not good at something. If we fail, we have a habit of just thinking, oh, I'm going to give up because I'm just not good at it. But evidence shows that high performers and people who are peak performers fail all the time. And it's not the actual fact that they fail, it's the fact that they keep picking themselves up that makes them succeed, which is a really interesting concept. And I'm probably going to talk a little bit about this throughout the presentation this morning. But I've been reading Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and yes, it's about money and everything like that, but there are so many lessons if you read between the lines. And, the people who are the most successful are not the ones that don't fail, because most people that are successful have failed more times than most people have even tried to do something. So it's not about the failure. It's about having that mindset to pick yourself up. I'm not smart enough, all those sorts of things. We've got a few more. If you succeed, I feel threatened. My abilities determine everything. And, you know, I can go on and on and on. That's just a few that we've got here on this slide about what a fixed mindset is. But if you can begin to develop a growth mindset, now a lot of people think that there are states and ways of being that we're either born with it or not, or it's there or it's not. But a lot of this stuff just needs to be curated and developed. I ran the self-confidence, 4-week self-confidence program not long ago, because again, self-confidence is another one of those, and it ties in with the growth mindset. These are things that you can develop. You can learn to have a growth mindset. You don't, you know, it's not something you're born with. And this is what people need to understand, that you can actually curate who you want to be. Okay, so a little bit about a growth mindset. I can learn anything I want to. When I'm frustrated, I persevere. I want to challenge myself. Through challenge comes growth all the time. You know, one of our spiritual 6 core needs, and if you want to know about the 6 core needs, I'm actually going to do them live in my groups this week. This afternoon, I will do the first core need, but the 5th core need, which I speak about all the time, and it's one of the spiritual core needs, is about growth. The 6 core needs, I'm not going to go into them today, but they are something that's come from Tony Robbins. That mindset of when I fail, I learn. Tell me and I try harder. If you succeed, I'm inspired. My effort and attitude determine everything. And that's exactly right. Your effort and attitude determines everything. And once you actually understand that yes, things do happen externally from us. We cannot control what happens outside of ourselves, but we can always control how we think and how we feel around it. And one of the things that I've discovered lately, I always used to think that your emotions ran your thoughts, but I have to say that I believe from my own experience that your thoughts run your emotions. So if you allow your emotions to run your thoughts, then your emotions will control your life and control your reality. But if you become aware that what you think creates your thought, your emotions, life becomes a little bit different. So let's go on to the next slide. I know there's quite a few people on Facebook. Say hello or register, jump over and come and watch the slides. You get a recording of this. So I'm very excited about Armed for a Growth Mindset, because it's the first time I actually was able to do an acronym of a word, and everything fitted in really, really well. So the first step is you have to have awareness, okay? One of the first things you need to do is you need to notice what's going on outside of yourself. And what I mean by that is to notice, number one, to stop focusing on what you feel, what you think, what you believe a situation to be, and actually take like a bird's eye view or a third party perspective. Think of when you're happy and you'll start to feel happy. Absolutely, Richard. A lot of people, I once put up a post on Facebook about happiness, and got a few people were highly triggered that they can't be happy. But I challenged them by actually saying you can, because it's how you think. So the first thing you need to do is you need to notice what's going on outside of yourself. Okay, so what I mean by that is to detach, to completely detach from a situation, a circumstance. Hi, Deb. I can see Deb's watching on Facebook. And notice what's going on outside of yourself. You know, notice what is actually happening in a situation, in a, you know, maybe it could be a communication relationship or anything like that. You know, take yourself away from your thoughts, take your emotion out of that, and have a look and say, what is actually going on here? The next part of awareness that you need is you need to approach life with curiosity. See, the thing is that when something happens, we do get dragged in, we do get pulled in, and you know, we then allow our thoughts, our emotions to really control how we look at a situation, how we look at something happening that's outside of ourselves. But if you can actually detach and look with curiosity and go, why is this happening? You actually get a completely different perspective on the issue and the problem. And I say this, guys, because this is for the people that know me really well. I teach and talk about the things that I have already done myself. And this is something that was happening to me for a long, long time. And it wasn't until I actually detached emotionally and thought, what's really going on here, that I saw the truth of the problem. Okay. The other thing that we tend to do, which is really important, that you need to switch and change, is that we have a habit of focusing on a problem. Begin to focus on the solution rather than the problem. If you're in a situation, in a relationship, if something's not going the way you want it, instead of focusing on how, what the problem is all the time and how you're going to fix the problem, switch over to what do you want to happen instead, and create steps to get to that solution of what you want to happen instead. You will be surprised how things switch over very, very quickly. And this is something that I do with my mastermind group all the time. With my VIP mastermind group, we constantly look at, if one of them comes up with a problem in the group and asks a question, we quickly switch it over to what do you want instead and what steps do you need to get there. So you look at the steps to the solution, not the steps to fixing the problem. So it's it might sound like it's the same thing, but have a think about that. It is actually a completely different way of thinking about things. Don't shut down when something goes wrong. There is nothing worse than shutting yourself off and going, that's it, that's too hard, I'm not going to do this anymore. When something goes wrong, when something doesn't work out the way you want it to, and especially as a business owner, things don't always go according to plan. But rather than shutting down and saying, I'm not doing this anymore, this is too hard, have a look at what lesson you learned from that. Because once you've learned a lesson and you acknowledge the lesson and it becomes conscious, you don't make that mistake again. Okay? And look at everything as an opportunity for growth rather than a setback, a knockback. Okay, and that's growth mindset. If you can adapt a couple of those, if you can adapt them all, great. But if you can just start to adapt one of those changes, you will be surprised the difference that it will begin to make in your life straight away. Okay, so ask yourself some of these questions. What was that all about? How can I do this better next time? And what did I learn? And that is a growth mindset, rather than saying it's too hard. And again, I highly recommend, if you haven't read the book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, this is part of what he talks about in the very, very first chapter about not giving up. Okay. So step 2, the R in armed is for responsibility. This is really, really important. You need to look at your part in a situation. What I like to talk about here is that I was in a very toxic, not a relationship, but a friendship, I guess, for many, many years. And when I actually stopped blaming others, stopped blaming the other person in that toxic relationship, and had a look at where was I at fault here? What was my responsibility in this relationship? I realized that I was not setting boundaries. So the other person, though, yes, they, weren't my cup of tea or whatever you want to call it, or, wasn't the sort of person I want to be in a friendship with, it was my fault for not setting boundaries, and they didn't know when they were crossing the boundaries. So really important that you take responsibility for what is your part in a situation. Now, sometimes if something happens that is not your fault, that's fine. You're not responsible for the situation, but what is your part in how you react, in how you respond to what's going on around you? Because sometimes things do happen outside of ourselves. Sometimes things happen that we have no control over, but we always have control about how we react and how we look at them and how we decide to respond next. So look at your part in the situation. Stop blaming other people. Yes, sometimes other people do create the problems, but you know what? You need to take responsibility for how you're going to react and think about that. And then what happens is if you grab onto a mindset like that and say, okay, I didn't create that, but what can I do to change this? How can I be responsible? You can take responsibility for changing the situation. You can take responsibility for what you do next and how you create the next step for you, okay? So that's really, really important. But when we don't take responsibility and we keep blaming other people and keep saying, it's their fault that this has happened, it's their fault that this is going on, then we can't change anything because we're actually giving our power away to someone or something else. So taking responsibility is actually a massive way of empowering yourself back in changing your life, in changing what happens next, okay? So ask yourself things like, what are you thinking? What is your reactions? What emotions are you feeling? And begin to go back to the A, which is awareness, because if you take responsibility, then you become aware as well. So these 5 steps that I'm going to talk about today are not individual steps. They are all tied in together. And the other thing is you need to have a look at whether you're in a victim mentality. If you are in a victim mentality, you will never take responsibility for what you can do next. And I will say that again, we don't always create what happens around us. I know this from personal experience, but what you can do, and this is really important, is that if you don't start blaming others, don't say, woe is me, don't say, I can't do anything about this, you can create what happens next in your life. So I'd love to know from the guys who are on the webinar at the moment, I'd love to know what you're thinking. If you got any comments about this, I'd love to hear from you. There's a few of you on here, so I'd love some comments. So the next one is make a plan, okay? Take charge of your life. Don't, once something goes wrong, when you're in a situation that you don't like, when something happens outside of yourself, the next thing is to actually take charge of your life. There's a big difference between take control and take charge, okay? Because you cannot control anything, but you can begin to make plans to take charge of what's your next step, okay? So sit down, become aware, take responsibility, and then take charge. Take steps to improve the situation. Take steps to improve your thoughts and your mindset. And here, guys, I've always said to people, and this is something that I did, sometimes we get so stuck in our own mindset, in our own growth ability, because it's almost like we're in a loop, or we're in a box and we can't see the instructions which are on the outside. So this is a time where if you're finding that you're struggling, you really need to look at getting a coach or a mentor. I cannot stress that enough. The biggest growth periods of my life have been when I've actually gone outside of myself to get a third-party perspective, okay? Organize what you need in all areas of your life. Find any resources that you need, okay? So if you're wanting to improve your business strategy, well, go and learn about it or get someone who knows about business strategies. If you're wanting to improve your communication skills, read a book, watch a webinar, or sign up to something that's going to teach you communication skills. But make a plan to actually do something about changing what's going on for you at the moment. And once you've found those resources, you know what? Take action. I cannot stress this enough. Nothing happens without action. I often have people who reach out to me who want to make massive changes in their businesses, want to create 6-figure businesses, some of them even haven't even seen their first clients, but then they don't take any action. So how is anything going to change if you don't take action? So, make a plan, but thinking about it and doing it and actually committing to actually changing your mindset, excuse me, is absolute paramount here. You can think about anything you want, but if you don't make the commitment and take the action, nothing's going to change. Okay, so make sure that you take action, really important. Come from a place of excellence. And I've got here on the slides the this is just one, there were so many, 7 habits of highly effective people. Okay, so really, I'm going to read through them. They take initiative, action. They focus on goals, focus on what you want. They set priorities. They take charge of their day. They only win when others win. Okay, win-win. Everything needs to be a win-win situation. They communicate. They cooperate, and they reflect on and repair their deficiencies. Okay, so, but when you want to be or come from a model of excellence, the best thing to do is to model excellence, to look at things like habits of effective people, but do not become a clone. So important. So how do you model excellence? You look at someone who has something that you already would like, someone who has a mindset that you like, someone who has a business that you like, someone who has a relationship that you like. Now, you don't become a clone of them, but what you do is that you think about what do they think about? How do they act? What are some of the things that they do? How do they react to situations? How do they behave? What steps do they take? And how do they do it? Now, you need to be uniquely you. This is really important. So you don't become a clone of anyone else. But modeling excellence is one of the principles of NLP that NLP in itself is actually modeling of excellence. So what you want to do is you want to have a look at someone who has achieved what you're striving for, and you don't become a clone of them. What you do is you think to yourself, how do they think and act, and what is it, excuse me, what is it that they do to get them to that place? Okay, so modeling of excellence is really, really important. Okay, that's why you do get a mentor, and you get not so much a coach, but a mentor especially will teach you what they already know, and you can then model their excellence, what they've achieved in, you know, let's say if we're talking about business, if you get a business mentor, the business mentor can show you what they've done to achieve their business, and then you can adapt it and make it yours. But really important that you model and have a look at what people that have done things that you like before you, and have a really good look at how they think, act, react, behave, rather than becoming them. The one thing you don't want to be is lose your uniqueness. So if anyone has any questions, please ask. And the last one is a desire. And again, I'm going to go back to, you know, Napoleon Hill's book. To really achieve what you want, you need to have, and I love the way he says it in the book, a burning desire to really achieve what you want in life. And I can't remember where I heard this the other day, but I heard someone say that, you know, your desire needs to be stronger than your excuses. So if you have a burning desire to achieve what you want, to have a growth mindset, to be able to succeed in life, and you hold on to that desire above all the excuses that you're going to come up with on the path, you will achieve it. So you also need, if you want a growth mindset, a true desire to make that change, a true desire to adapt some of the principles of having a growth mindset, no matter how uncomfortable it is, okay? Make the changes that are needed. You have to make some changes. There's no point thinking about something. You have to make it. An openness to feedback from others, okay, and also from yourself. Okay, a lot of time when people give other people feedback, a lot of people take it as criticism. Now, I'm not saying take everyone's feedback on and change, but you need to have an openness to feedback. And when someone gives you feedback, to be able to look at it and say, is this true or not? Really important. And a desire to improve your communication skills. So, so, so important. The desire is the want to really do something is the passion that pushes you to get to wherever you want to go. Okay, guys, that's it for another week. So thank you for being here, Armed for a Growth Mindset. I would love to, if anyone wants to reach out to me, please do. I have some really exciting things that are going to start. It is almost we're in the third quarter of the year, so I'm not going to start anything big this year, but there is an amazing, no worries, an amazing 12-week program that I'm going to start next. Really great. No worries, Melissa, thank you. An amazing 12-week program next year. It is application only, and it is about going, accelerating your performance, accelerating your development, accelerating where you are right now to that next level of who you can be. Like I said, it is application only. I have had a few people apply for this already, and it's really important that you chat with me about this, because you need to be at a certain level to be able to take that next step. So I'm really, really excited about this program. A 12-week program. I'm working with some people with this one-on-one at the moment, and take it into a group program next year. But you really need to be ready to be an action taker. So if that sounds like, if you want to know more about this program, please reach out. But as always, you can find me on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Join one of my groups. I'm running, I'm doing lives at the moment every single day, Monday to Friday, in my 2 groups, just to help people get some tips and learn what it is that you need to learn to begin to take yourself to that next level. So if it's something that sounds good to you, if it's something that you want to know a little bit more, like I said, it is application only. The only reason for that is because I need to make sure it's quite intensive, and I need to make sure that it is what you're wanting to do, and you're ready to take those steps. So if you're interested in that, please reach out. I look forward to seeing you all next week. I have an interesting little topic next week. We're going to be talking about how to handle sales objections. So it's not what you think. So come along and listen if you want to know that. It is about handling sales objections, but it is handling them from a completely different point of view of where I've seen most salespeople come from. So thanks again for being here. I look forward to seeing you next week. And bye, guys. If anyone wants any more information, please do reach out. Thanks for watching. Bye for now. See you all next week.